What's going on, guys? I'm doing good, man. How you doing? Yeah, if you're on Instagram, you want a better view, just go on to YouTube. It'll show you the whole screen. All right, guys. Yeah, man, it's definitely going to be a busy week. All right, let's just get this started. Okay, so last week we did have U.S. inflation data. Typically, we get U.S. PPI after CPI, but we ended up getting PPI first, which the numbers did come out lower than expected. But for those that remember last week where we was trading US PPI, it came out lower, but the markets didn't really react to it as much. So the expectations was, okay, let's wait for US CPI if that could give us an edge moving forward. But CPI data did come out as expected, right? But we did see the reactions that I would wanted to see for US PPI. We just saw it for that Thursday, which was odd. But we still see that overall inflation is still softening, right? We see that inflation is cooling. And this is what gives the markets the expectations that the feds are going to cut, because the inflation data that we got last week was highly important because of that. So now, moving forward, right? Like what you said, we do have a very busy week. Okay. So we're going to start this off with the Federal Reserve. What markets are going to expect? Okay. So the Fed is widely expecting to cut the interest rates by 25 basis points for the next meeting. So the probability of a 25 is highly expected around 90 to 95% from the Fed watch tool. Okay. So expectation of a big 50 basis point cut is highly unlikely. The Federal Reserve don't like giving surprises. That's just like overall how they are. But a caveat, it is a possibility that Jerome Powell pauses rates, right? It's a possibility, you know. I think he has his back against the wall. We understand that Trump likes to talk shit about him, right? We understand that Trump is trying to pressure the Federal Reserves to do what the government wants. The Feds need its own independence, right? That's the main focus. So a caveat, it is a possibility, anything could happen. We could actually see that he doesn't cut rates at all, right? And then pauses rates, shock the whole markets. It's a possibility. Just to throw that thought in your head, because I don't see a lot of people talk about that part, all right? But while we expect to cut, because the labor markets is cooling, job growth has been weaker than expected. Unemployment is creeping up. Layoffs, jobless claims is also less favorable. So we're seeing weakness in the labor markets. This is what increases the odds of the cut. Inflation was already pushing down towards their target goal. Remember, guys, from the last Jackson hole, the first time he actually came out and said that he's seeing weakness in the labor markets. And that's why we have overall weakness in the dollar and we're seeing strength in the equity markets, right? Because that's the first time he actually came out when it came to talking bad about the labor markets. Now let's head towards inflation. Inflation remains a concern, but some of the recent data has shown less upside surprises. Because remember, in the Jackson hole, he's expecting higher inflation. So it's not a surprise. He's already expecting the possibility of uptick in inflation due to tariffs. So the key thing that he said was higher inflation is temporary, right? So we're still expecting the Feds to cut rates after that. So that's why the market's already priced in the 25 basis point cut, so that's more likely going to happen. But if we don't get a cut, or if we get a larger cut, that's going to lead to a lot of volatility. Okay, just to let you guys know, if he doesn't cut rates, we're going to see strength in the dollar, downside in equity markets. If he does a 50 basis point cut, just expect downside in the dollar, upside in the stock markets. Okay. So like just something to focus on with that. And market expectations, we already went over this, but just pause it, take your notes, guys, because this stuff is important. It's going to help you moving forward. So next, we also got the Bank of England's rate decision. Okay. So they're expecting to hold rates the same. So this is the difference between understanding why each central bank is doing their own thing, right? This is a good example. So they're not expecting to cut rates, but they are projected to do a cut at the end of the year, which their economist is expecting for the BOE to cut rates by 25 basis points in November. So that's going to be Q4. Some economists is expecting no rate cuts for the rest of the year as well. So when it comes to the Bank of England's rate decision, that right there is going to be important regarding forward guidance. Okay, guys? So just to give you guys the outlook on why. So inflation remains above the Bank of England's target of 2%, right? So expect inflation to be around 4% in September. It's not going to go to the target around probably mid 2027. So that's long away. All right, guys. So when we're looking at the Bank of England for the rate decision, that's what's going to be the focus, is going to be on forward guidance. What is going to happen at November's meeting? Okay. Are they going to give us any hints that they're going to cut rates in November? But overall, like this week, we got important data for the Bank of England, which I want to show you guys, because there's going to be plenty of opportunities, right? Because we're going to start off on Tuesday. We're going to have labor data for the UK. I think that's going to be extremely important. And then we're going to have the UK inflation data as well. So there's going to be some good opportunities trading that before the rate decision. That's going to be on Thursday. So that's what we're going to be focusing on live also, because God willing, if we could get a tradable opportunity holding to their rate decision, would be pretty awesome. It could set up for really good opportunities. Now, let's talk about the Bank of Canada's rate decision, right? So they're expecting to cut rates by 25 basis points. And you could just see that it would send their rates to 2.50%. And that's close to their 2% target goal. Okay, so they're expecting to do one more cut at the end of this year. So that's what's going to be the focus, right? Is the forward guidance. Is the Bank of Canada going to do another cut after this meeting at the end of the year, or are they going to save it for next year? So the reason why we're expecting the Bank of Canada to cut rates is because their labor markets is horrible, right? 65,000 jobs in August, unemployment is rising, and the GDP is in contractionary mode. So all of this is really due to the tariffs. Tariffs is impacting their whole economy of Canada. So this is what's leading to opportunities for those rate cuts, right? Just to give a little relief in their economy. So that's why they're expecting a rate cut, especially with the weakness of the labor market. So they want to give a little more, they want to take that pressure off the economy. So that's why we're expecting those cuts, okay? So that's for you guys that's trading at the Bank of Canada. Now the Bank of Japan, I don't normally like trading the Bank of Japan because they're so random when it comes to their rate decision. Supposedly is at 11 p.m. Eastern time, but they could do it at 10:30. But I don't normally focus on it. But you never know that this could lead to an opportunity. And the forward guidance to focus on, right? So this meeting, they're not expecting to cut rates. But they are expecting a 25 basis point cut in Q4. So what we need to focus on is the forward guidance. So when the Bank of England Aruda speaks, that's where the focus is going to be on. If they're expecting inflation to still rise, right? Because if the Bank of Japan is expecting higher inflation, higher wage pressure, that's going to strengthen the yen currency. So this is going to lead to a stronger yen if we get those type of comments coming in from Aruda after the rate decision. So that's what we're going to focus on. All right, guys. So remember, just take a screenshot, take your notes, so you guys could use that as a good cheat sheet moving forward. Lastly, we're going to talk about the dot plot, because that's going to be the main focus today. That's going to be the main focus for the rate decision, is the dot plot. And I just have a description there why it matters, right? Because it shows the policymakers where they're expecting interest rates to head. Okay, so this is what's going to be the focus for this rate decision, is the dot plot. So if we see that all the dots are moving up, they're not expecting to cut rates a lot for the end of the year or leading towards next year. That's going to leave more of a hawkish reaction because that's just showing that they're expecting higher inflation, labor markets to get stronger, etc. But if we see that the dots are pushing lower, that's going to lean more towards a dovish reaction. Okay, guys, just to give you a snapshot of this as well. And if you guys are interested, right, I do go into more detail in the private group. So this is just an update for you guys, and everything is in the Discord group. Okay. And I just want to end this here because I also want to talk about, like, I want you guys to do a little challenge, right? Because on Sundays, what I do in my private group, we do something called Zenith Weekly Growth Calls. Today was a call about family. All right. So I just want to read this scripture to you guys. But if this is 1 Timothy 5:8, right? But if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith, right? So it just shows that taking care of your family is also biblical, is in scripture. And what I want you guys to go over, right, especially after this call, like, choose one of the challenges. Have no phone with your family at night when you're having dinner, right? Have a family movie night, or teach your family something new. Like, also write this down. This week, I would lead my family by blank, okay? Because we have to, you guys are all traders here. You get what I'm saying? You guys are all looking to better your lives for some particular reason, right? You guys feel like your life is a lot more than what it is. So it's good to spread that knowledge within your family as well. That's why we do these type of calls, because it's not just about trading in general. We have to get better in every aspect in life. All right, guys. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys. And again, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And yeah, that's really it.